You're listening to the Life Purpose Advisor podcast, episode 37.
I will take responsibility for everything that I manifest out of everyone and everything, because it's the only place I have choice.
You're listening to the Life Purpose Advisor podcast.
Life purpose, spirituality, higher calling, personal growth, meaningful life.
We ask the deep questions about living a balanced life of meaning, purpose, and joy.
Passion, know thyself, be mindful, spiritual practice, aha moments, life lessons, balance.
It is time to welcome your host, Angie Swartz.
Today I'm really excited to bring you JJ Flizanes. She is an empowerment strategist, the director of Invisible Fitness, and Amazon best-selling author of Fit to Love, How to Get Physically, Emotionally, and Spiritually Fit to Attract the Love of Your Life. We all want to do that. And the author of NAC Absolute Abs Routines for a Fit and Firm Core. She was named Best Personal Trainer in Los Angeles for 2007 by Elite Traveler magazine. No small feat, I am sure. And she vividly reminds us that the word fitness is not just about the state of one's physical body, but also the factors which determine a person's overall well-being. And for JJ, the key components in all these areas are invisible: balanced support structures of nutrition, emotional centeredness, and health. A video expert for About.com and regular contributor for The Daily Love, JJ has been featured in many national magazines. I think this list is so long, but I'll read a few. Shape, Fitness, Muscle, and Fitness Hers, Elegant Bride, and Women's Health, as well as appeared on NBC, CBS, Fox 11, KTLA. Oh my goodness, I'm going to run out of breath. And for her clients and followers, JJ designs customized coaching programs and unique, versatile approaches that harmonize the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. Welcome to the show, JJ. I can't wait to talk to you about what you do with your clients. What's going on in your business?
Thanks, Angie. It's great to be here. What's going on in my business? Well, I have a show. I have a podcast show, and it's video and audio, and I get to talk about and share with people all of these different parts that make up what it is that creates our best life.
I love reading your bio. I think I got a workout just reading about all those places that you've been featured.
Well, thank you. It started out at the fitness industry, but have branched out and really, really enjoy having a podcast show where I can talk about all these different wonderful things that you know and love as well, Life Purpose Advisor, like having, those kinds of deep conversations that really are life-changing and not so surface-oriented.
It's really not possible to work on one aspect of ourselves and not the other, is it?
It's possible to focus and to only pay attention to one area, but whether you get lasting results and the results that you really want, the truth of what you really want, is probably not possible. I think that a lot of people go after fitness with the idea of, well, I just want to work on my body, but forget that their mental, emotional, and spiritual self feeds the body and is a reflection of what's going on in the body, and that the physical side of it, the exercise part of it, the weight loss part of it, that's all sort of top-level external stuff. And it's not the root. It's not the motivating factor. It's not what creates good habits long-term. It's not what motivates you. It's not how you feel. And so when we look at just the body, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so happy to really not be solely in the fitness industry anymore. I mean, that it's so surface, and I'm not a surface person at all, but I was interested in taking care of my body, in obviously to look good, but obviously to feel good and to age well and to be strong and to just be able to feel empowered in every aspect. And it wasn't until I started running up against roadblocks in people's transformation that exercise wasn't going to fix it. We had to go deeper. And when I was given 7 and 10 injuries per client because nobody else knew what to do with them. See, I understood the science of the body, so I have a really unique niche in the fitness industry, but it's a niche that nobody cares about. Nobody really wants to talk about degeneration of your joints unless they're injured or preserving your body long term unless they're injured. And by the time you're injured and you have multiple injuries, there's other things going on there that just exercise isn't going to fix. So I've had to learn and been inspired to research and learn about all kinds of things, from hormones to metaphysics to astrology and numerology to all kinds of therapy and subconscious and conscious mind, obviously biochemistry and things with nutrition. So it's been a great journey.
It's so interesting, because in my journey I've learned about many of the same things as you, coming from a very different angle, being the mental and the spiritual. I'm very interested in the body and what the messages, the injuries that the body experiences are telling us about our emotional needs as well. So it's so interesting that we both get to that full package, regardless of which door you actually enter.
Right. And I would probably assume, but what happens when you assume, but let's just put it out there that for you, coming from a spiritual, or starting from the spiritual place, you may have more an easier path. Because when you get people who are already having that kind of conversation, you get to go anywhere with it. And for me, the struggle has been, and not necessarily a struggle recently, but I've had to make peace with this within myself over the years. But the roadblock in the way is that when I came in through the door of fitness, people just expect fitness. And when you cross over into the other aspects of mental, emotional, spiritual, they get uncomfortable because they want just fitness. And I've had to transform myself multiple times and wrestle with and allow my business to grow and change and ebb and flow to attract the right people who not only want all the other aspects of it, but expect it. And it isn't just about fitness. And so I find that I'm sort of a strange person in the fitness industry because I'm having these conversations versus just the person talking about the newest, greatest, latest gadget or piece of equipment or fitness fad. See, those things bore me. Those things are not interesting to me because I can break them down into science and, and understand them, and they're not new, nor I don't have the same response. So for me, I can only just imagine that I wonder if you've had a easier road bringing in some of the more surface level things, starting at a deeper spiritual place. And I've been able to have to go from the top level and go, no, it's deeper. I want to go deeper, and have people reject that.
Maybe perhaps that's true, but there's a little bit of a similarity or a parallel learning happening. Like when someone says that, at least initially, that they want to work on their life purpose, they feel like they want to do something bigger with their life. But what they don't know is when you say that I feel like I'm having a higher calling, and they might not even use those words or know that. When you say that you're ready to step up to something bigger, what do you need to do? You have to move all the baggage out of the way and clean up all the trash, if you will, so that you can make room for those bigger things to come in. So it's a little bit, maybe it's a little trick that the universe pulls on everyone. So it's either your body and your fitness goals, or the other side, I want to do something bigger with my career and my life. But really, it's a little bit of the same. Clean up your health, clean up your mental, clean up your emotional, your spiritual health along the way of doing both of those things. I've heard folks, particularly ministers, say in the past, if you want every possible issue of your own to show up, then just go to sign up for ministerial school, because everything will show up right in front of you. Boom, like all at the same time. So I suspect that you're quite the trendsetter, and 5 years from now, many physical personal trainers will be having the same kinds of conversations that you're having today.
Well, I hope so. And I know and trust that people who've been in the business long enough have to, and who are curious and passionate about what they do, not necessarily even good at what they do, but just at least passionate about it, have to be somewhat curious, which would lead them down the path of asking the same questions that I did and learning more. It's when you have a lot of in the fitness industry, you don't need a degree, and you don't really even need that many certifications, especially in California. When I was in New York City, I was director of education for New York Sports Club, and I was training trainers. And we were creating a curriculum based on a couple different certifications that were out there, and it was because the gym was expanding. New York Sports Club was just all over the place, and they were expanding at a rate where they needed to hire anybody. And so they just took whoever was willing and had a good personality and was willing to get certified in time. And so this program became their foundational program of understanding the body to move them from point A to point B. And of course, at the end of that program, I was telling people, yes, you have to go get certified. Like, there's no option. That's the next step for you. And so what I realized, though, is that I'd also get trainers who'd been training for years who had no formal education, but they had good personalities and they had good bodies and they were disciplined in their training. And so people hired them because they said, well, I want to look like you. And unfortunately, that's not going to be the best choice for choosing someone when there's a lot of science involved. And what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person. And the use of the science needs to be applied in particular, maybe in the same way, but maybe in different areas of the body and different, there's so many different factors that go into that. So in the fitness industry, unfortunately, there isn't a regulation of education that one must have to do what it is that we do. But I would hope that even if just listening to this show and the education that I've given to rooms that I've spoken in and things that I've done in the past, I've let people know that, when you're hiring somebody to work with your body, ask them questions and really listen to what they have to say and be involved in your own growth. And don't just assume because they have a good body, it means they're going to know what to do with you.
I had an experience with a trainer one time. I'd been working with the same trainer for, about a couple of years, and he was out of town for a family member's wedding. And I said, we're making some good momentum. Why don't you hook me up with one of your buddies while you're gone so that I keep going? And he did, in fact, set me up for appointments with one of his co-trainers who was quite younger and quite ambitious. And the guy almost killed me while my trainer was gone because he, had certain goals for his clients which didn't really fit my body type or my fitness plan. And so obviously he didn't almost kill me, not those words, but his goals and what he thought I was capable of, just were more appropriate for someone that was 20 versus myself as a 40-year-old at the time. But to your point, it's...
Yeah, and that's unfortunately the norm in the industry, both with men, with female trainers, as well as mostly men with female trainers. And I'm not trying to be judgmental but it's what I keep hearing and it's what I keep seeing because men and women are different and we think different and we train different and our bodies respond differently and we have different set of hormones. And I just see when you don't have a lot of education in the training industry, the only way for you to really sell yourself as a trainer is to sort of make your client hurt, so that way they think you know something. And unfortunately, that's like the low level of coming in and really having no former science education and foundation to back up your choices. But it happens because that's the industry that I'm in. So unfortunately, yes, I am a trendsetter, and I hope to shift some of that, if nothing else, just in the awareness that people have of what's available, and that all trainers aren't the same, and that all exercise isn't the same, and that this is actually science, and multiple sciences that someone has to take and mix all together and pull out and specify and personalize what's best for each individual. And that includes besides the anatomy and the physiology, that includes the biomechanics, that includes the psychology, as well as the biochemistry. And then there's just the idea of, who you are and what you want. And it's not about me, it's about you. So the fact that he even had goals for you that weren't necessarily yours is kind of funny to me because they're your goals, not his goals. And it's about you. Mm-hmm. But trainers have some ego involved and they think, well, my clients have to be the best. And my clients have to get results because it's a reflection of me. And that's probably something I learned over the years was how to detach lovingly and allow people to process and not make it about me and not make it about them listening to me or that if I wasn't smart enough or if, they just weren't ready for what it is that I wanted them to do that wasn't about me. So
I'm sure people are in the gym or with their trainers for all kinds of different reasons. I mean, some of them being to get their bodies in better shape, but I'm sure some people are there for companionship, to have someone listen to them. I'm sure there are many reasons.
Absolutely.
But I have a personality assessment on my website from a person that I interviewed. I don't even know what episode she is, a while ago, Dr. Zana Hackett. And one of the things I like about her tool, which she calls a person's owner's manual, is that it has an element of looking at your body and your ancestry and how your body is designed, gives you a lot of messages as to how you function. So, and if we use Oprah as an example, you remember all the years that Oprah tried to be a very thin person. Oprah's not designed to be that kind of a person because she has a very big engine. And this tool talks about, different personality designs versus what your body is designed to be shaped like, and why some people are naturally bigger than others. So it's a very, very interesting tool, and I love all those kinds of things that help people understand who they are and why they are who they are and why they behave the way they do. Not to say that anyone can't be more fit, but to think that that you're ever going to look like Kelly. Kelly that was, I can't think of her name, that was on, I can't think of her show now, Kelly that was on Kelly and Regis.
Kelly Ripa.
Who's now Kelly and, yes, thank you. To think that everybody's ever going to look like that body type, because some people have bigger bones, are taller, different body sizes.
Right.
Thank you for giving me her name.
Yeah.
But good tool out there.
Cool.
So let's talk about your story a little bit.
Okay.
So do you think that you know what your own life purpose is?
Yes, it's empowerment.
Can you be a little more specific?
Sure. It's empowerment and freedom. Astrologically, I'm a Pisces with a lot of Sag in me. And in every situation I've noticed throughout my life, I always try to find where I feel more free. And I've always identified with making choices based on how free I feel or honoring how I feel, period. And resisting choices or thoughts or situations where somehow I feel trapped. And so throughout my career as a personal trainer, and then, you come upon people who have very limited views about their life based on their experience with their parents, or based on what messages they've been told through society that they've listened to, or based on how they interpret information. And it was always those, and that's what interests me. That's what really got my juices flowing, was to be able to take a situation of where someone's stuck and find how to unstick them, basically. And it usually has to do with feeling not free in some aspect of life, and not feeling they have choice, and not feeling they have a voice, and helping people to find that in every area of life. And I started out obviously with fitness and with weight loss and food and all that kind of stuff, and that's where it started. But if we looked at the theme, at the root of all of it, it's about the freedom. And some people who overeat or emotionally eat because subconsciously or even consciously they feel trapped somehow, based on a belief, on a situation, and being able to uncover that, reframe that, and release that, then can really actually make a difference in their life versus just counting calories or exercising more. And so for me, time and time again, that's why I was stuck for a while in fitness. I mean, I felt stuck because I had gone down this path and wanted to talk about so many other things, and didn't feel like the audience in front of me in this realm wanted to hear about those other things. And so I've had to create, and that's one reason why the podcast was a blessing to me. I'd actually gone to a writer's workshop with a different book than Fit to Love. Fit to Love actually was on a shelf at the time. It had been published. The publisher had stopped publishing. I needed a new publisher. I had tried to find things, and then I put it down because nothing was easy. Nothing was flowing. And I was like, this is too hard. I'm putting this down right now. It is obviously not the right time. So months and months go by. I go to a workshop for a new book, all pumped up about new stuff. And I learned about podcasting. And then this was a Hay House event, and it was a Balboa Press event, and I realized, like everything just sort of aligned perfectly, and I got the answers that I needed, which was publish your book here with Balboa Press, its division of Hay House, and do a podcast show, because you can repurpose all the information you already have and create new content and do all of these different days of the week. I got spiritual downloads as I was driving about the different days of the week. It came to me within like a second: Movement Mondays, Tasty Tuesdays, Wellness Wednesdays, Thoughtful Thursdays, Freedom Fridays. And I came home.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Isn't that so fun
clear,
when that happens?
So clear. And then I came home and shared it with my husband. He's like, great. Well, you got to have 60 Saturdays. And I'm like, okay, thank you, honey. Yes, you're right. I have to thank you for adding a 6th day to my week, my podcast show. But he was right, and it worked out perfectly. And now I have the umbrella and the container from which I can then, any inspiration and creative juices that are flowing in me, or that I learned something new, I have a place to put it. And for a long time I didn't, because I had a blog and I had guest experts who would write on the blog. But again, writing to me, I mean, I'm a performer. You can hear that. I've performed most of my life. I enjoy connecting verbally and auditorily as well as in person. And writing, while I do enjoy writing as well, didn't free that expression, isn't the charge that I want to impart on people when I'm doing something or passing on this information. So it all really came down to empowerment. I kept saying, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to help people find this. And I had to put a name on that. And really it's over and over and over again. It's empowering people, empowering you to want to eat better and how to do that in a way that doesn't feel restrictive, empowering you to want to exercise and take care of your body from a place of love and of acceptance and of wanting to age well, not from not liking yourself or abusing yourself or punishing yourself or shaming yourself or disconnecting from yourself and thinking that the only way to love yourself or to get love is to look a certain way. And, you know, and then in every other area of life in terms of whatever, name it, and it's all about, to me, finding the freedom of empowering yourself with the fact that you always have choice. And lots of people forget that. And I have forgotten that too. And sometimes you can't identify it because you're not in it long enough. You have to sort of sit with it and feel that, oh, I feel stuck and I don't like this. And well, why don't I make a new choice? So my mission and purpose on this life is to help empower people and to remind them that they have choice, that they are the creator of their own reality. And at every turn, you always have a choice.
Mm-hmm. I love what you said. I love a lot of the things that you said in there, but particularly what I like what you were talking about, that you had a blog and that the writing felt a little difficult, you felt a little stuck, and that you're a performer and this medium fits you very well. I've had very similar experiences to that, and I think for folks out there that might be listening, thinking about doing something different with their own lives, there are a lot of recipes out there in the world now for how to promote your own business with social media and blogging. And, you know, video might be your thing, or podcasting might be your thing, or singing might be your thing, or performing or writing, but blogging is certainly not for everyone. And as you said, I've written lots and lots of content over the years. I've been doing social media a long time, but you know, you can force yourself to do something for a long time, but what you naturally do well can be such a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, it's so much fun. Although I did have to tell you, years ago, I was doing teleclasses with a partner. She was a hypnotherapist, and we were doing weight loss programs. We have a program called the 6-Week Beachbody Program. And when we were together and doing them, it was fine. But what I think I realized was that audio wasn't the best way for me either. Now, that was back then, because when I would speak on a stage or be around people or be at a party or people are questioning me, I could get clients so easily, and people approaching me after they saw me speak because they could marry the energy of my voice and the intensity of my passion with my face and with a warm energy. And what I think I learned, or thought I learned back then, is when I was just doing audio only, is that they couldn't see me. And so for some people, I was too intense. Now, that's okay. I accept that now. If I am too intense for you, that is totally okay. But back then, I just thought, this isn't working as well as when I'm live or on video. So I had actually put audio aside completely and thought, I can't do that. But then when I heard about podcasting, and I learned that I could do a video podcast as well, I thought, that's perfect, because that gives me the freedom. Again, I'm all about freedom. Gives me the freedom to do my Monday and Tuesday videos, and then my Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday audios. And the audios are easier to produce and faster to produce, and don't require me to have makeup on or have a certain dress or be lit in a certain way. And so I love the freedom of being able to choose that. And in fact, I mean, I'd love to do all 6 days video, and maybe one day I will. But currently, with a good mic and with good content and with a good system where you don't have feedback. You know, the phone is so, and I think that's the other reason why I thought that the audio only wasn't good for me, because you know what it sounds like when you record somebody on a phone call. It's, you know, you hear all that air in the background, and the sound quality is so much less that it just takes away from. And now that I've been doing all this audio, I've got a live show that I do. I mean, my husband went out and bought me a brand new set of headphones because he was like, your voice sounded so good. You could do radio in the morning. Like, you could be one of those talk show people that I listen to on the real radio. I was like, thanks, honey.
And you said, thanks, but I'm better than that. Well, I don't need the real radio.
No, this is good. This is where I am. He's like, maybe you can do this in all different cities. And I appreciated the enthusiasm and the support. But I did also hear the sound quality, and I think that's key. So yes, when you find something that it naturally fits with who you are, it's a joy and a pleasure to do. And even when you're tired, you still do it and you still get energized from it, versus it doesn't suck you dry of your energy and your life force.
Right. Amazing. Let me ask you a little different question. Does anyone ever confuse you with JJ Virgin?
I can't answer that except for because I don't know. I don't have people say, oh, it's the wrong JJ. I had one person, one of the clients I have in Arizona, she heard me on a teleconference show years ago, and she heard me, and she knew of me, and I don't know if she knew of her then either, but I know she searched me, and she came up with JJ Virgin first, and she looked at her and knew exactly that it wasn't me, and then continued to search for me because of the conversation that I'd had on that show. And she had said, I haven't heard a trainer that knows as much about psychology as you do, and I need someone to work with my clients. So that was back in 2009, and I've been working with her ever since, her and all of her clients. So she's the only person that's ever mentioned it to me. So, I mean, I've worked with, like, we have lots of people in common, but no one has ever said, oops, wrong person. So I can't really answer that.
Maybe they've said that to JJ Virgin a lot and not to you. But the reason I ask is you were talking about feeling like people might have perceived you to be too intense when it was only audio only. And I've listened to JJ Virgin before as well, and she's pretty intense on her content. So, but I would think having a similar name, the two of you, is a plus. So
yeah, and I think I know, like I said, we have lots of people in common. So I've asked for feedback and about the differences, and I know and feel very strongly about those differences. So while we both may be intense and passionate, the content or energy in that passion is different, I think.
Well, sure, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, you're you and she's her.
Right.
So I didn't mean to suggest that you're the same.
Oh, yeah.
In any means.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more, and you kind of described them, but were there any real specific aha moments for you? Anything that was on a deep level that pushed you in the direction of understanding what your purpose is?
I started out as an entertainer, and I also started out thinking I wasn't very smart. In high school, I got A's and B's, but science and math were never my strength. And so you get labeled, or at least I thought I did, get labeled with this, you're not the smart kid. You're not the brainiac kid. So I was the fun. I love English. I love all my languages. I was in the show choir. I was in the drama club. I was the lead in all the plays. I had the solo at every concert for every season for the show choir. So that, you kind of like fall into whatever that label is when you're in that age range. And even though I did sports and I was a cheerleader and I did all that, like I had a foot in sort of all the places, but if one had to define me in one way and say what was I most, I was definitely more of the entertainer. And so when I came out of school is when I got into the gym. And when I first started, I was very interested in, again, the exterior package and then the idea of health and just the idea of the training part of it. But as I went along, just who I am, I don't want to feel like a faker or a poser and so I started to learn science. And it wasn't until training and learning about personal training that I actually really started to learn science. And then I started to really understand my capabilities. I would have told you that I spent most of my childhood up until my early 20s, being very right-brained oriented. When I got into personal training, actually, I activated and started using a lot of my left brain. And I noticed probably 5 years into that I needed a balance. There were different parts of me, and I think that's part of what, if you had to say like with a deeper spiritual lesson, like uncovering, because we keep evolving. And so I would evolve, and I still am, we all are, right? Keep evolving, and keep growing and expanding. And so at one point, now I went from right-brained only. I'm the singer, dancer, actor, fun, emotional person. And then I moved into, now she's a really smart, focused, linear, structured, science-oriented person with obviously the other fun stuff on the side, but that wasn't what I was focused on. And then then after that was for a while, then I had to balance them together and realize they activate different parts of me, and they're both true about me, and I like them both and I need them both. So how can I get them both? And so coming out of New York and moving to California, where I was going to not do the training and just focus on the entertainment part, I struggled with that for a little while because, again, I didn't want to not use my brain. There was a desire and a satisfaction that I got with using the left brain part of me. I like problem solving. It felt good to figure things out. It felt good to focus on something and take it apart and learn about it and find the truth about it. And so when I moved here, I did start just sort of doing odd jobs to get started, and then something hit me. Because, again, my thing is empowerment and freedom, and I wasn't feeling free because I was feeling I had to do something. I asked myself a very deep question, which was, okay, how can you do everything? How can you do everything that you want to do? What does that look like? And it came to me in a dream, and the dream was to open a personal training business like the one that I had been working for in New York while I was kind of going after an acting career. I can do both. If I'm going to manage sending myself out there to audition and getting an agent and doing all of that, I can simultaneously be marketing myself as a trainer because I had just left New York on such a high. I had such a good reputation. I knew so many trainers because I was their educator, and I was going to all the different locations. I just was on such a good place when I left there. Then to come here and not know anybody, really, and nobody know who I am, I had to start over. So I sort of married together both parts of my life. Eventually, the acting part and the entertainment part fell to the side because I became more passionate about owning my own business and having that kind of freedom. But even then, I've had to learn how to honor, how to satisfy the creative juices in me that are very right-brained, and how to marry that into, which again is this podcast show because it's creative, and I'm even writing a song and producing it with a friend who is a writer, singer-songwriter, and she performs all over the place, and then we're going to record it, and I'm going to do a music video. But like having that umbrella of freedom and self-expression and being fully self-expressed. Every step along the way of my evolution, something had to teach me the next step. And what's the next step to that? What does that look like? And what has limited me in my growth is caring what other people think and caring what other people think makes sense to them. I mean, I'm sure you've been told this. Everyone's been told this who works for themselves about niching, right? Niche, and be specific and be specific and be specific. And those words that I've spent a lot of money on from mentors and mastermind people and money people. I spent a lot of money, a lot of time and energy listening to that niche, and it never felt right and it never worked because it isn't, I can't niche into fitness. It's not the whole picture. So then what? Do I just stop doing fitness and then just go do life coaching or something? But that's not the whole picture either. It's all important. And so at some point in time, I stopped caring what anyone else said. And I said, screw it. No, this isn't the way that I'm going to do it. And I'm a very big law of attraction person. And if I am looking outside of myself and putting myself in a small little box, I don't feel good. And I'm not really sending the correct messages to attract the right situations anyway. I'm going to be who I am, period, and allow that to look however it looks, and then just trust that the right people will show up in different ways to play with me and to grow. Because any other way other than that of just honoring who I am and what I want to do and how I want to show up, no matter if you don't understand it or not, that was killing me. That was like, okay, this is so frustrating. I just felt so boxed in just doing fitness because
you felt trapped.
Going,
going back to what you said earlier.
Right.
So now if you were to go put all of your clients on paper and sort them out, do you think that there's a pattern to what kinds of people that you work with?
There's a pattern to how my clients have changed as I've changed. Absolutely.
Of course.
Yes. As I started out when I was in the training, and before I made my first product, because I didn't know, because I'm so science-based with the training, that I didn't know how to really do it justice. How do you make a product that everybody's going to use, that's right for everybody, that just doesn't feel right? That's why the personal training feels right, because you're taking the individual and you're really just honing in on them and what's right for them. And so how do I package that into something that everybody gets to do? And I created a coaching program, and I made a DVD of a library of exercises. So it wasn't one of those workout DVDs that you put in the VCR at the time and you move around to it and you just follow the choreography. I didn't want to do that. So I created a library of 25 different exercises and then a coaching program so that then it could be tailored. And at least I was just teaching the exercise, but we weren't actually doing it, and the program wasn't laid out. So that was my first and so I wanted to move away from just the one-on-one in person so that I could reach out. And so that was my first product. And so I reached out, and it became coaching. And that was fun for a while, but then I missed the interaction. And the people prior to that were people that, I had a company where I had personal trainers as employees / independent contractors. So I had at one point 15 other trainers that were running around California as invisible fitness trainers. And while that was really satisfying to have a team, the reason why I modeled that, because of the company that I'd come from in New York that I licensed and franchised my first year here, I was under the belief that I had to manifest and work with needy people that needed a personal trainer in order to maintain all these sessions and keep all these people busy. And that's a very dependent place to be. And after working with these people for a little while, I realized I don't like these people. I don't want to work with you because you're not taking responsibility for yourself, and you're blaming it on me or us when you're not getting the results that you want. So then let those people go. Realize that this whole dependency thing is not. I am very not about dependency. So I let that go. Moved into the coaching, and then wanted more interaction. And then the next round of people that I literally manifested out of that became people who are still with me because they get the training and the coaching, and they don't need me. They just like having me around. They can afford and want the accountability. They honor themselves enough to keep me around, but they don't need me like the people before who were dependent.
I understand.
So,
I want to go a little bit. I'm sorry. Were you?
No, we're good. We're good.
There?
No.
Okay, good. So, what age do you think that you knew that this was the direction you were going to go in?
What age did I? The podcast or fitness?
No, the teaching people how to feel empowered and free with life, your purpose.
I probably coined that and branded myself empowerment strategist no longer than 2 years ago.
And do you think there were hints when
absolutely.
You were younger?
No. When I was younger, I was more, because again, I was more right-brained, activating that part of me, the emotional side, the Pisces bleeding heart part of me. I was actually more victimized. I believed, since I was so good with my feelings and I was so emotional, I could tell people, you hurt my feelings and this is why, and you don't do that again. So I was much, because it's so common, the victim mentality is so common in sort of mass America and probably the world. And it wasn't until I started my own business and heard the words from Esther Hicks channeling Abraham saying, you are the creator of your own reality, did I actually really go, what? I'm the creator of my own reality? Oh, well, that's great news, because that means if I don't like something, I get to change it. And all of a sudden life shifted and I never went back. And I don't even like the idea of calling myself a victim in any stage of life ever. I am very much the I'm like, nope, I will take responsibility for everything that I manifest out of everyone and everything, because it's the only place I have choice. It's the only place that I can do something about it or allow it or surrender to it. So yes, there were hints along the way for sure since I started my own business. And I would say maybe back then when I was more right-brained and doing the acting and the singing and the dancing, and all of that was about having people feel. I was very interested in teaching people through feelings. I don't know if you know about acting training in terms of like Stanislavski and the different acting teachers, but there's different methods of acting, and one of them is very much about getting up and activating your own personal experience on stage, and I never really liked that one. And then I learned from Stella Adler technique, which is about learning about like the day in the life of a character. So if you were playing somebody in the 1940s, what would it be like a day in the life of that character? So now your job is to learn what it was like to be in the 1940s as a 13-year-old girl when planes, with whatever the history was, whatever war is going on, whatever music's going on, whatever the social economic culture's going on. And now all of a sudden I get to learn history, religion, politics, and take that on and see from a different point of view. So I've always wanted to teach people about different points of views and empathy and compassion. So that's probably where that was in my acting and performing, because I really took a liking to the Stella Adler technique and how much respect I had to how it expanded me as a person and all the things I learned, and then therefore all the things I could evoke from people who were watching the performance and teach them and connect with them. So I think it all got packaged together, but little pieces and parts along the way were more emphasized at different points of my life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for that. So I'm glad that you brought up Esther and Abraham Hicks. For those of you that may have never heard of them, I would encourage you to go out to YouTube and Google Abraham Hicks and see what you come up with. You'll find yourself entertained for the next week if you so choose. But it's a great segue to ask you, what are your spiritual beliefs?
My spiritual beliefs are that we have multiple lives. We definitely reincarnate. I believe that energy cannot be destroyed or created, therefore it's just recycled. And that we are all, in essence, non-physical energy. And we incarnate and come down, and part of us is physically focused into these bodies, and we have an experience. And part of that experience is just for joy and expansion, and part of that experience is because we want to come down and learn something. And that I take sort of the law of attraction in this life, what you can manifest, and evoking that stuff. And I also, over top of that, lay over Carolyn Mace's sacred contracts, that we choose our life before we get here. And because I come from a background of my mother was Catholic and my father was Greek Orthodox, and my parents got married in the Greek Orthodox Church. My mother converted only because my father would have had to take classes and he couldn't do that. Otherwise, I probably would have been Catholic. So I grew up in a very Christian church with, again, like I said, Greek Orthodox, and I questioned it all over the place. Not in a I want to be ornery kind of way. I just asked questions. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? Why do they do this? Why do Presbyterians do that? Why do Catholics do this? Why do Jewish people do that? And then I actually even minored in it in college in Christianity studies and Judaism, because the Sag part of me wants to learn. Why do you believe that, and why do you do that? And so I could gather as much information as I could to see what felt right for me. And while I appreciate my Orthodox upbringing and I still have ties to it, obviously if you grow up in it, my parents are still Orthodox, and I'm friends with lots of priests that have been life-changing for me. I think that for me, when we can focus on a bigger picture, then if there's a bigger picture, if I've chosen this, then again, that's empowering. If I am a victim and life just happens and I only have one shot and then I die and nothing happens, that to me is a very depressing choice. And I understand people believe that, and I'm just telling you why I don't choose that belief, because to me, anyone who doesn't believe in God or doesn't believe in another life, to me that focus gets really, really small. And for me, that feels very anxious. I would feel a lot of pressure if this was my only life, and if I was supposed to, or if someone thought that it was my job to do something or change people in this one lifetime. That would feel like a lot of pressure, and it would not be fun. Mm-hmm. So I would say law of attraction, sacred contracts, definitely astrology I use all the time. Astrology taught me how different people see the world and therefore interpret information, process emotions, and it took my Pisces-ness of being a bleeding heart and actually having more compassion for how other people react differently to things. So I'm a little mix of all those things, and I'm sure there's other things that I could probably add into that, but that gives you the general view.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My next question is about tools that you've used to help you know yourself better, which you just mentioned a few. But earlier when we were talking, you mentioned that you have used numerology in the past. So tell us what numerology says about you and what you've learned from it about others, or how you use it in your life.
I don't use numerology very much. I did a show on numerology, and the person who was the guest on the show, Lynn Sherrill, I actually did a mastermind with her recently, and we spent a whole hour going over everyone's numerology. And while that was really interesting, and I think I'm a 3 for life purpose or something, which is like a mover and a shaker and divine energy, whatever.
An expressor.
Yeah.
3 is all about expression.
Yeah. And a communicator, and I had one of my past agents, literary agents, she was also an astrologer. When she read my chart, she said that communication was a big, strong theme throughout my life. And that's why, writing books and public speaking and like communication was a huge theme for me. So I use astrology not in the like reading of charts, but reading of positions of planets in different places. I think astrology is my biggest tool when I work with people, because it's about how people interpret information and how, so for instance, earth signs, Taurus, Capricorn, Virgos. What are you, Angie?
Scorpio.
Okay, good to know. All right, so we're water, right? Water signs, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, and so we are all about emotions. Emotion is our realm. That is water. Water is emotion. Air is thoughts and thinking and big pictures. And earth is earth, and it's stability. And a lot of people who are earth signs seek out stability. And then fire is movement and action. And so I've got a lot of fire and a lot of water. And you put me with somebody who's got, let's say, in their moon, which is how you deal with emotions, if they've got earth, and earth is about stability, and they want to be in a box. They feel safe in the box. And the Sag part of me in my moon goes, I'm looking at the box and I'm running the opposite direction. Don't you put me in that box. Okay, the idea of the box gives me anxiety because I don't want to be in the box. And so...
And what signs are earth signs?
Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn.
And what signs are air signs? Since we're
Gemini,
about
Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra.
Mm-hmm. So what does an air sign do for a water person?
Well, air people are, I'll just give you a slight overview. So air people, air signs they love thinking and big picture stuff. And just like air, they will change when the wind changes. It's like, oh, look at the bird over there. Like, it's that shiny object syndrome. A lot of air signs, like Libras, are known for, like, the shadow side is known for being indecisive, because they're the scales, they're the balance, they're the fairness, right? So they can see both sides, but sometimes that's paralyzing when making a decision about which way to go. And Aquarians are very, very uniquely, they see huge pictures, but sometimes are disconnected from their feelings. And Geminis, that's the twins. They're the beginning of the air signs. They're the first air sign of the whole zodiac, and they're the twins. And that's why it's like, oh, do I go this way or that way? Am I this person or that person? There's like an internal or dialogue versus like what they show to the outside world, and that can show up in different ways. But when working with people on every level, I always do someone's chart. I do people's chart when I just first meet them, because I want to know how to communicate with them. And I have been studying astrology for over 20 years in this way, not in the, I couldn't tell you which house is which. I don't do that. But I look at how people communicate, how they see the world, how they interpret information, so for you, so Scorpio. Scorpio, you're the second water sign. There's 3 of each sign, and each sign develops more and more as we go along. Like, astrology really needs to be a straight line, not a wheel. It starts with Aries, it ends with Pisces. And there are 12 signs. There are 4 categories of elements, and it repeats 3 times. So you've got your fire, air, earth, and water, and then I'm sorry, that was the wrong order. Fire, earth, air, water, and that repeats 3 times. So the first grouping is the least developed, and the last group is the most developed. So you're in the middle, you're Scorpio. And Scorpios usually are known for definitely a well of emotions, and can be very in touch with and lovey-dovey and very wanting to connect with people on that very deep level, but not wanting to trust it right away, wanting to be very protective and just sort of watch and listen and stand back and observe and sort of get the bearings, because it's about the trust. It's like, oh, am I going to trust you to not hurt me? And so I'm going to observe. I'm going to be pleasant. I can be at the surface level for a while and just sort of notice what goes on. And then when I feel safe, I'll open up myself. Because then the Scorpio part is that so Scorpio is obviously your sun sign. And there's so many other parts of astrology that it's not just about your sun sign. It's your moon. It's all these different parts. But, and then Scorpios are known for attacking back. If you hurt me, I hurt you back. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be vindictive, but it's just that's part of maybe potentially how you're built. And I accepted that I was a sensitive water sign, a sensitive Pisces. And once I accepted it and worked with it, I actually transformed how I interpret information. Like, I don't ever feel like I used to feel growing up. I may have my feelings hurt, quote unquote, but I would never turn around and blame it on anyone else. I would say, oh, well, what's that inside of me that isn't healed yet? Or what's a need that I have that's not being met that I need to get met in order to feel differently? So, but I have noticed I used to be very sensitive, much more sensitive. And now that doesn't even happen, because I think of all this work I've done that I am different. I've transformed that sort of, emotional bleeding heart victim mentality into emotion, but with empowerment.
And what do you think that this conversation means for anybody that's listening out there that doesn't know much about astrology?
I love, for two reasons, the use of astrology, the way that I use it. I'm not a big one on let's predict the future, because just be in the now and, want to know about the future, plan for your future, make smart choices that will affect you in your future. But I'm not a big let's go future readings and tell me psychic what's going to happen to me in 5 years. I don't do that. I use astrology for energetic composition. How, like I just said, how somebody sees the world, how they interpret information, how they process emotion, what's important to them. Like I explained that a lot of earth signs, I'll just use Taurus, for instance. Like a Taurus person wants to be in a box because they feel safe in the box, and therefore they feel free and relaxed. But a Sag person is going to say, oh my God, I have to run the other direction because I'm going to die in that box. And so when you can understand how people look at the world differently, it can give you compassion and empathy, number one, for them, and it allows you to understand yourself better. I've got most of my planets in that third stage of astrology that I explained, except one. And my Venus is in Aries. And in a past relationship with an ex, I had a hard time not knowing what our status was. We had broken up, but yet we were still together, and we were together. And I thought, oh, well, are we back together? And he was a Pisces too. And his moon was in Taurus and my moon's in Sag. So that's how I know all about Taurus and Sag, differentiate, the boxes. And I couldn't figure out, JJ, you are so gray. Why does this matter? Why do you need to know if you're together or not? Just be. Like, I had a hard time with that. And I went back and looked at my chart and saw that my Venus was in Aries. And Aries is the first of the signs. Aries is the infant. Aries is about yes, no, right, wrong, black, white, left, right. That's it. 2 choices. Aries don't compute 3. It's like, no. Here or here. That's it. Just dumb it down to this choice or that choice, 1 or 2. And so when I saw that in myself, I relaxed into it versus beating myself up thinking there was something wrong with me. I think astrology allows you permission to understand why you are the way you are. Like you were talking about that test and, why people's bodies. Okay, this is how you process emotion. And instead of judging yourself and saying, well, there's something wrong with me and that I'm impatient and that I have anxiety or whatever, this is why. Oh, okay. I get it now. So that gave me insight, and I relaxed and go, okay, I accept that. So here's what I need. I need to know if we're together or not together. Pick one. Pick one or we're done. And that's what I needed. But I got my needs met because that's how I process information. That's how energetically I needed to show up. And I think astrology is great for that reason. Communication with other people, right? Because don't you ever look at someone and say, why are you not understanding what I'm saying? Like, I think it's very clear, but they're not getting what you're saying. And it's because...
No, I've never experienced that ever.
Really?
Never. No, I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you. So just to clarify a little bit about astrology, like for someone that's out there listening, like, and they're interested about what we're talking about, where should they start? Like, where do you think someone that knows nothing about astrology should start to learn more?
I would give you 2 resources. I use astro.com. It's a free site. You can get a free chart. Astro.com, and it gives you, I care more about the positions on the end of it, the reading versus the writing that they give you, but you could start there. You could start there. And then I would say the major 6 planets you want to look at, your sun sign, that's the one you know of, your birth sign. That's sort of your soul in this lifetime. That's like right now. Then you've got your moon, which I think is almost as important, and your moon is how you deal with emotion. That's how you process emotion. So like I said, I have a Sag moon. Sages are all about truth-seeking and education and higher learning and religion and spirituality. So that's why I am who I am. I appreciate that I am curious. Sages are very curious. So find out what your moon sign is, and you'll start to understand how you process emotion. And to not bombard you with too many others, I'm just going to give you one more, and that one is your true node or north node. They're both the same sign. They just get called different things. But true node or north node, and that's your soul sign. Like that's your soul on taking into consideration other lifetimes. And there's a book by Jan Stiller called Astrology for the Soul. And that entire book is dedicated to that true node, north node sign. So if I was to say that, and that book was life-changing, it was probably only maybe 6 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. 8 years ago that I learned about that book. But I was having an argument with my husband years ago, and after the argument was over, and I was thinking, what the heck? I don't understand how you just reacted like that about this. Like I just wasn't getting it. I looked in the book, and it answered it. It was right there, like under his soul sign. So I think if I was just to say what the best resource to start with is, that one is so awesome and unique and special for each sign that I would say do that. And then that would be a really easy place to start. One book, one website, and then from there, if you're more curious, you can, buy more books or contact me. I have a whole library of things I'd love to share, but the moon is how you deal with emotion. That's very important. And your soul sign, your purpose and the things to work on in this lifetime, very important.
It's very clear that that's a huge passion of yours. So thank you for sharing that with us. I'm interested to know about whether or not you have a daily practice.
That's a good question, and I have to say I don't. I don't have a daily practice. I've got multiple practices that I do different days of the week, but because of the personal trainer schedule of, having clients for a long time, I mean, I was up at 4:30 in the morning. So I don't have a time of the day that's consistent every single day. And so that's been a roadblock for me. And I've kind of just let go of needing a daily practice that happens like a ritual. And I've embraced getting my needs met and being accountable for different things like meditation or for books or for pulling cards. I've got tarot cards or reading astrology or whatever. So I have different days of the week where I honor those different things and those practices. Earthing. I mean, there's a lot of things I'd like to get into my day that are unrealistic. And so what I do is try to spread them out over the week.
Mm-hmm. I would say that you do have a practice. I mean, that's a valuable thing to point out in this interview. Like, I think a lot of people, like you alluded to, think that a practice means that you get up every day and you have an hour set aside for these things and you do them within the same hour. But because you're committed to those different things, it doesn't really matter when you do them, but you do them every week. So it's a practice, I believe.
Okay. Well, then, yes, I have a practice. But you're right. I think I've heard so many people commit to a daily practice of some kind, whether it be, and when you go on certain programs, they want you to every day do whatever it is, the meditation, the journaling, and that's, I just hasn't been able to work into my schedule. So I've broken it up and my practice isn't daily, but it is a practice.
Mm-hmm. I think it is, and to your point earlier, it really wouldn't fit you to have a daily practice. It would restrict you from freedom to have a daily practice that was exactly the same at the very same time every day.
So, thank you. Yes. Thank you for that. So, I appreciate that.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Tell me, does synchronicity play a role in your life?
Define synchronicity.
I mean, to me, synchronicity is things, connections, people that you meet, phone calls that happen that bring certain beneficial things into your life that you don't know how they came.
So the reason why I asked you to define it is because to me that would be manifesting. That would be law of attraction. And that's how yes, so it does. In the way that you use synchronicity, I would just call it something different. But absolutely, timing and allowing and not waiting for the sign, so to speak, but being in alignment for the evidence to let me know it's a green light, go. And yes, when I have a thought, I mean, I even had like a manifestation journal, because what was really fun for a while was noticing how quickly I could manifest things that I had no resistance to, like food. I was so good at manifesting food that it would happen within the hour or 2 hours. I'd want a pizza, and I'd say, oh, but I want two. Oh, but I want to, and then just notice that it just worked out. It just, it happened to work out. Or I was thinking about somebody and they called. Those kinds of things work out very easily, and just being able to acknowledge the power in that, so that way, when all the other things that we have resistance to that we really, really want, to let go of the resistance and trust the process. So yes, synchronicity and law of attraction and things showing up and being in alignment and timing, and definitely divine timing. Yes.
Great. Thank you for that. How about money? Do you make more or less money now that you're following your path?
What's hilarious to me is that when we did our taxes this year, that I made $30,000 more last year than I did any other year. And if you asked me how I did it, I would tell you I have no idea. Because it wasn't a focal point. I wasn't trying I wasn't like counting money or counting sessions or marketing for specific things any differently. It just happened. And prior to that, I had been more focused on money and more focused on counting things and focused on, this is before the show. The show started in September, but really the most of the year I didn't have a show yet. I was still in process. In fact, I took a whole summer to create the show. I didn't launch it. I had the idea in March and I launched it in September. So I can't tell you that there's anything that I did. I'm sure with a little time and attention I could tell you, but off the top of my head there is nothing. So yes, I'm making more money. Things are becoming easier. I am attracting very interesting things, but there's always the process of getting out of your own way and allowing things to just show up. I actually felt restricted, but even within my show, and not really acknowledging that until my other live show, I decided to take a 2-month hiatus for the summer off of. And once I did that, I felt this relief. And I thought, you know what? I need to do that for the Fit to Love show too. And once I'm in, it happened in days. And I struggled with, okay, do I not? How do I do this? Blah, blah, blah. Is there a risk? And I just kept trusting not to listen to the fear part and to listen to the relief part and just know that it's going to work out. And I put it up on the Podcaster's Paradise and, asked a few people, and I got some great feedback. And then I feel really, really, really good about it that I've ended season 1 of the Fit to Love podcast show with 170 shows. So I will be bringing back season 2 in September, and I already have a whole lineup, and I've got enough video content to last me till next year. But that's not the point. The point isn't just to fill space and time. The point is to make a difference. The point is to be excited and energetically radiate that passion and that love and that inspiration and that wanting to help and wanting to serve and wanting to share. And it was starting to wane a little bit with the show schedule that I gave myself. So I feel back into the chair of being excited and passionate and wanting to clean it up and listen to the audience and see what people want and deliver what it is that people want. So, every step of the way, you tweak, you correct and continue, and listen to your emotions and your body tell you what messages that it was. And I was feeling, it wasn't that I wasn't passionate about the show, but I was feeling that lack of freedom of, I need time and space to go back and clean up some stuff and do some great ideas that I had along the way that I don't have time and space for unless I take a break. So,
well, you're very consistent. I love it. Love it. I would love to ask you a lightning round of short answer yes/no questions.
Sure.
Think we can do it? Short yes/no answer
Absolutely.
Questions. Do you think passion and purpose are the same things?
No.
Do you think everybody has a life purpose?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how important is following your joy and igniting your life purpose?
10.
Did you ever quit your job to follow your purpose? And do you think somebody needs to quit?
I did. I never had I walked into a life with the acting thing of job to job to job, never a full-time anything. So nothing really shifted for me, but I chose that life. And do I think that people need to quit their job? I think there comes a point in which you are asked to commit to what it is you're passionate about and to trust the process. Maybe not at first. Maybe there's a way to balance both. But at some point, yes, someone does need to energetically make a choice about where to focus their energy.
Okay. What brings you great, great joy?
The freedom of expression, just having a creative impulse and being able to follow it. So if I want to go dancing, I'm going to dance, and just not limiting myself to that this is what I do and this is who I am, and allowing who I am to expand all the time.
Good. If you unexpectedly amassed a good-sized fortune, what would you do differently?
I have actually thought about this a lot, and the only things that I would do differently would be to have a little bit more help doing some of the things that I can't do on my own, but my life really wouldn't change that much. We may buy a house, and maybe go on a couple more vacations, but generally, life wouldn't change.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to know that about your life, isn't it?
It is, because when there's toys and stuff, but that gets old. That's not your life purpose, to have a toy. And listening to someone recently tell me that they went shopping for all these fun, luxurious things, which is great. I think that's a great exercise. But to hear how lit up they got, and notice in myself that I thought, no, it's too much work, too much space, too much house to clean, too many rooms to fill. I don't need all that stuff. I'm happy in my little house. I don't need that stuff. That's stuff. And I like stuff, but I'd rather have experiences. I'd rather travel the world. I'd rather go off and write for 6 months and be on an ashram and go on a walkabout. Like that gets my juices flowing more than buying a nice, huge mansion and a couple of nice cars.
Me too. I will see you there, my friend. So just in closing, a few more questions. What should listeners learn from your life?
Find a way to allow yourself to be who you are now. And don't wait until if you can, of course, I believe that everything happens in divine perfect timing for everybody, and that you manifest whatever is you're ready to handle. But if you're unhappy in any aspect of your life, don't just ask yourself, am I fully expressed? And what is it that I really want to do? And don't allow yourself to get caught up in what everyone else thinks. They are not the experts of you. You are the expert of you, and you are in charge of you. And who cares what anyone else thinks, because you're the one that has to live with you and be you and allow you to be you. So don't ask for anyone else's permission to be who you are.
Beautiful. Thank you. What's the best way for people to connect with you and learn more about you and what you do?
I would say come on over to the Fit to Love podcast show on fit2love.tv. That's the website for the show. Of course, you can find us on iTunes as well. But love.tv is the website.
fit2love.tv, and of course we'll have that website in our show notes on lifepurposeadvisor.com. And I would love for you to give away something to our listeners today. Can I talk you into that?
Sure, yes. I'd love to be able to give your listeners a copy of the book, a digital copy of Fit to Love, How to Get Physically, Emotionally, and Spiritually Fit to Attract the Love of Your Life. You can get that at fit2love.tv/ebook.
And how much does that cost for them?
It's free.
Free! Wow. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that very much, and I'm sure everyone that's listening does as well.
And I will just say that even though it does sound like a book about dating for single people, it's really not. It's about the relationship that you have with yourself, and that regardless of if you're in a relationship or not, it's about attracting the highest quality, vibration, and love from everyone in your life, as well as and especially yourself. And that's really what the book's about.
It's where everything starts, right? Right. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Is there anything that we missed today that you'd like to say before we end?
No, I just, is there anything we missed? Well, of course, we could keep talking for a long time, but I think this is a good place to start. And with the show, I just want everyone to know that my podcast show is free. It is video and audio, and we cover all kinds of fun topics from exercise and cooking and nutrition to hormones and, everything under the wellness category, and psychology and spirituality and relationships and dating and all that good stuff. So it's all free. Come on over. I would love to have you as a subscriber and tell me how you like the show.
Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm sure we'll keep an eye on you and see where things go with your future and the next season 2 of your podcast show.
Thank you so much, Angie, for having me on. It's been a pleasure talking to you as well. I really, really love the structure of your show and the content that you get to share with your listeners. It's right up my alley. I really appreciate that you're out there making a difference in people's lives and wanting them to find their life purpose and helping them with that, because that is such an important factor in people's happiness on this planet.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And a big, big contributor to my own happiness. So we will speak to you again. You have been listening to the Life Purpose Advisor podcast. I hope that you will send us your feedback and let us know who you'd like to hear from. This is Angie Swartz, and we will see you next time. If you would like to find your own purpose, please visit me at lifepurposeadvisor.com and sign up for our free 7-day e-course, 4 easy ways to find your life purpose. And I'll be there to help you every step of the way. Have a wonderful day.